Thank you, Chair. And Minister, it was the Residential Construction Council of Ontario that said there was no way the feds would meet their housing targets. So again, where are the homes you promised? 79% of units are still needed.
Mr. Chair, it's only been a few minutes and we've already seen the Conservative member move off the issue of Indigenous housing, much like they did while they had the opportunity to make investments and chose not to.
Well, I figure you're not going to answer the
Within
question,
2
so I
minutes,
might as well try another
we're here on a
topic
study to tackle the housing needs of Indigenous communities.
Chair, it's my time. Can I reclaim that time, please, Chair?
So you have your time. You still have 2.5 minutes.
Thank you, Chair. So again, maybe we'll focus on the actual question I just asked. The Residential Construction Council of Ontario said there was no way the federal government would meet their housing targets. So again, where are the homes?
Mr. Chair, I have 2 points in response. First of all, we've been at this committee for about 3 minutes now, and the Conservatives have already changed the subject from Indigenous housing, much as they avoided it while they were last in office.
Chair,
Second, and he keeps interrupting to ruin the audio because he's embarrassed of the answer here, and he should be embarrassed because, Mr. Chair, do I have the floor? I want to respect the interpreters, but this is inappropriate.
Order, please. We got to think of the interpreters here when we're having this types of crosstalk happening. The interpretation is not getting through. I'm listening to the French interpretation right now, and it's difficult when we have two people talking. So if we can just have one at a time, please. Mr. Smale, your time's back to you.
Thank you very much. Again, rent has doubled, housing has doubled, housing costs have doubled, food bank usage is at record highs. Minister, we're talking about housing that, by all accounts, many of the people actually building housing say your government has no plan and will not reach your target. So again, it's a simple question, Minister. Where are the housing? Where are the houses?
Mr. Speaker, or Mr. Chair, rather, now that I have the floor, I trust I can make this point without interruption. This is a study about the housing needs of Indigenous communities across this country. It has been a few minutes, and the Conservatives are now resorting to reading questions off their phone, off topic, because they feel like they can't have a serious conversation about this issue. There was years where they had the opportunity to make the investments and chose not to. Sorry, Mr. Chair, I'm being spoken over. Every time I make this argument, he talks over me. Do I have the floor?
I'm not going to let him take my time.
Mr. Chair, do I have the floor?
You have the floor.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, with respect to my friend and colleague, he had many years as his party in office to make investments or not make investments in Indigenous housing. They chose not to. Now he has an opportunity to ask questions about it, and instead he's looking at his phone to ask questions he's reading from the Leader's office rather than actually engaging on the issue of housing in Indigenous communities. It's inappropriate.
Well, Chair,
with respect,
again,
he says we have no plan, and again, he's talking over. He's very uncomfortable with this argument. He says we have no plan. Mr. Chair, do I have the floor?
No, I want to reclaim my
Mr. Chair, do I have the floor?
No, you don't.
Do I have the floor?
This is not answering my question. He doesn't get to
Mr. Chair, sorry, there's been no point of order. Do I have the floor?
You do have the floor.
Thank you. I have respected my colleague while he was speaking. I would appreciate if he would return the professional courtesy. He suggested we don't have a plan. We literally published a plan in April of this year. He may think it's foreign because the plan that he put forward as a party has no measures in it that will actually build more homes.
Get to just
With
run
respect,
the clock out.
we have.
Point of order. Mr. Shields.
Thank you, Chair. I would suggest that the member, Mr. Smale, be able to ask his question. It's his time. And the minister is going on and talking about other
nonsense.
things. So he needs to be able to reclaim his time to be able to speak and ask questions.
I agree with
So, Mr. Smale, you still have. I'll give you one more question, okay?
Thank you very much.
He needed like
Chair,
another minute.
I appreciate the opportunity. Again, we are not seeing your targets met on for non-First Nations, for Indigenous communities, and across the country. There have been no targets being met. You're not on track anywhere in this country to meet your housing targets. You say you have to do more. Fine. But the last 4 Auditor General's report said nothing has changed. So I want to know specifically what is going to change.
So first, with respect to the issue of targets, the targets outlined in the National Housing Strategy under our bilateral agreements and affordable housing investments have delivered more units than were set out as a goal at the outset. But we need to do more, as I've mentioned repeatedly, and we have broadcasted a series of measures in the recent housing plan that are going to increase the investments. The Conservatives seem to struggle with the idea that you should set a target that's going to solve a problem, not one that your measures are going to lead to anyway. A final comment, because I expect I'm going to run out of time. During the last exchange, I should should point out when one of the members said something about what I was talking about, the questioner has said it was nonsense. Investments in housing for Indigenous peoples in this country is not nonsense. It may appear that way given the questions today and the history of the Conservative Party, but for the record, the government takes a different view.
Thank you very much, Mr. Smale.